The Minnesota Wild Podcast is presented exclusively by Acrisure.
Well, hello and welcome to an extended Minnesota Wild pregame. Getting ready for game number 3 from St. Paul. Wild down 2-0 in the series to the Colorado Avalanche. But tonight things are about to change because the series shifts to St. Paul. And you know everything's going to be different once they get back at Grand Casino Arena. First game on home ice in a second round since 2014. Pat Micheletti joins me from Parts Unknown. How you doing there, Patrick?
I'm doing just fine, guys. How are you?
You didn't have enough of me on Beyond the Pond earlier today? You needed to come back for some more?
I never get enough of you, Kevin. It brightens my day. I smile. And, you know, I lose it for a little bit, but knowing that I get to come back on, you know, you inspire me.
A beacon of light is how a lot of people describe me.
Oh, yeah, beacon of light.
You can join us. You can, of course, listen here on your radio. You can KFAN.com/listen. Also, thanks to Halvey up there in the Al Shaver press box. You can also watch us, KFAN.com/watch. And if you were there, you'd see Brandon Mileski has joined us in the Bob Kurtz Radio Center. Brandon, always good to see your shining face and great to hear your voice. How are you?
Yeah, good to see you guys as well. Now that you can watch this at KFAN.com/watch. I got to watch my eye rolls and my shaking of the heads.
Yes, please.
And rolling my eyes every time you two talk. So I'm going to try to put on my poker face today.
Oh, good. Well, we got plenty of things to get into. Brandon's here with us for about 20 minutes. Then we'll go up to the press box and we'll check in with Joe O'Donnell and Tom Reid. Network will join about 45 after. Puck drop at 8:10 going into Game 3 here in this best-of-7 series. We talked a lot earlier today, Brandon. It almost goes without saying. Patrick doesn't want to use the must-win to describe this game, but for all intents and purposes, you don't win this game, the series is over.
Yeah, the must-win thing gets thrown around. I'm kind of on Pat's side where to me it's never a must-win until you are in an elimination game. But being able to come back down 3-0 against what is the best team in the regular season, looks like the best team so far in the playoffs. You know, barring injuries to McKinnon and Makar, it's going to be hard to win 4 in a row against. It's already going to be hard enough to win 4 out of 5. So it's a very significant game. Plus, I just think the first 2 games, I just don't know if we've seen the Wild's identity that we saw all season long and during the first round of the playoffs. And if that doesn't show up again, then you're really wondering how you're going to come back in the series. So something's got to change tonight without Eriksson Ek in the lineup. I don't know where that change is going to come from. Maybe it's the matchups, maybe it's the home ice, maybe it's the desperation. But yeah, it's a very significant game tonight.
You know, I get laughed at a lot about using the word luck when it comes to winning and how much you need luck, and luck being one of the parts of luck is being healthy. And I'm not making excuses, but to your point, Brandon, about playing to their identity, maybe they can't play to their identity because they miss Ek, because they miss a shutdown guy like Brodin, and whether they figure it out, whether they come up with another form, style, whatever you want to call it, to play against these guys, they may find the same result.
Pat, if we had Joel Eriksson Ek and Jonas Brodin for this entire series, would the Wild be favored to win the series? They wouldn't be nationally. So you'd be even closing the gap. But the point is if you're fully healthy, this is still a very challenging series against a very good team, and your margin of error just goes away. And Jonas Brodin, defensively would have been more important in this series than the Dallas series, just because it's a faster team. He's an elite skater. He can go out there and he's one of the few that can skate backwards along with Nathan McKinnon. Joel Eriksson Ek, maybe not your MVP, but he might be the hardest to replace on this team. They just don't have a guy who can fill his spot. I'm sure special teams are about to come up, Pat. He's good on the penalty kill. He's good on the power play. He plays a certain role in the power play that really nobody else can play. He's your shut-down defensive center when you're playing a team like not that he would shut down Nathan McKinnon, but would give you at least maybe a bit of a chance.
Again, join us at... Hang on, sorry, Pat. Join us, KFAN.com/watch. Just wanted to get that in again, KFAN.com/watch. Helvey's done such an amazing job. I hate to see all this hard work go to waste. KFAN.com/watch if you want to join us online. And, of course, you can send in your text as well, 64686. Your thoughts going into game number 3. Go ahead, Patrick.
Well, no, I don't want to say put Colorado on the pedestal of that others do. I think this is a really, really, maybe not pick 'em series, but if Eck is healthy and if Brodin is healthy and the style that they play, because remember, we have offense now, and we also have Quinn Hughes on the back end. And, I just think this is kind of I do think it's a different team. And I flat out think they can play from them. Now, I don't think, and I always reference back, even though they got beat 4-0 in the series, the LA Kings series, listen, Colorado wasn't the speedster team that you're seeing against Minnesota. They were able to slow them down. And that was their game plan. They had to do that. They don't have the offense that Minnesota does. Hence, they lose the series. I think that, if Minnesota is able to contain how Colorado breaks out, clog up some lanes where they can get speed, I think it's a different game. Now, it's a lot harder because you don't have Eck and because you don't have Brodin. And so they have to, and so I'll go back to, they have to find that, whatever that solution is.
Well, in the forecheck we saw against Dallas, Pat, right, where we were suffocating their as that series went along, the Stars defensemen were starting to turn the puck over in their own zone. They'd just been getting beaten on, and they were starting to make bad decisions. And, they had to pull guys like Tyler Myers lower in the lineup and out of the lineup. That we haven't seen any of that through the first 2 games. No. Colorado has been so efficient getting out of their zone. We can't even get to the point where we can hit them because they've already gotten rid of the puck.
And why do you think that is, Brandon? To me, getting rid of the puck when and not putting it in the right place, obviously.
Well, they're chasing every game too, Pat. I mean, that you're giving up goals early in periods. And now they caught them in the first game for a small stretch there. But when you're down 2-0, down 3-0 in these games, it plays right into Colorado's hands, and it changes they don't have to change the way they're playing. And the Wild, they clearly can't. They're trying to make plays more often than this, as opposed to let's hit the puck deep and go get them physically.
Couple of things that have to change into Game 3. The Wild have to get better goaltending, and I'm confident that they will. They're going with Jesper Wallstedt. He gets to start now in Game 3. I don't think goaltending has been the hallmark that we've seen all season long in the first 2 games of this series. But then again, the special teams have to be better as well. All of this it doesn't make any difference. If you can't stop their power play and you can't get anything going on your own power play, it feels like your destiny is already determined. How do they fix, for one thing, the penalty kill, which was actually pretty good in the regular season, has been abysmal in the postseason. What's your first thing you would do to start rectifying that?
I don't know. It seems like Dallas is doing, Colorado's doing kind of similar stuff to the Wild that Dallas was doing in that first round in terms of how they're using guy at the goal line. The McKinnon's goal he scored the other night, he did that exact same thing in the LA Kings. And I'd never really seen that happen a whole lot from a power play standpoint, from a structure standpoint, where he starts in the middle, kind of in that bumper position, and the puck's on the other side, and he slowly backs out while another player's moving in, and just kind of distracts the defenseman enough, and all of a sudden he's in that one-timer position when the defenseman thought, well, he's in the middle of the ice, he's not in that one-timer spot anymore. The exact same goal he scored against the LA Kings. I think Colorado is trying to do the exact same things Dallas was doing, and we didn't have a fix. Yeah. We didn't have a fix against Dallas other than. You mentioned the goaltending. You can't just have good goaltending in this year. You got to have great goaltending. Yeah. It's just not. You're going to have to make saves. You're not supposed to make. There's going to be breakdowns. Pat and I talked about this on the Ten of Fitzgerald when we were previewing the series. That the 5-on-5 play against Dallas, that ain't going to transfer over against Colorado. There's going to be games where you give up 40 shots on goal against Colorado. They just are.
Yep.
So you better get great goaltending. I wouldn't have gone to Gustafsson in Game 2. We'll never know whether Wallstedt would have responded the proper way in Game 2 because we didn't get to see it. But I do think we're going to see a motivated Wallstedt tonight, and he is capable of being a guy who can carry the load even if you don't have your best in front of you.
Yeah, in regards to the penalty kill, I think Minnesota throughout the whole playoffs has been way too passive, and maybe it's because they have a guy like McCarron out there and a guy like Foligno out there who aren't as fleet of foot. That's number one, and number two, the zone entries. A Bantam team could get in the zone against Minnesota and how they're defending there. I think they have to put on a lot more pressure in the offensive zone and send a guy hard. I think they've got to be able to fix what's happening with the zone entries because it's been way too easy, and you allow teams to get set up, and then you're passive in your penalty kill. Well, you're just saying, go ahead, set up, and some of these players are too good, and so you've got to put pressure on them when you have the ability to do that, and make them scramble a little bit. And to me, that hasn't happened.
Pat, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If you can get into power play penalty kill, be a nerd here for me. Seems like every NHL PK does the exact same thing on those zone entries, right, where they're just kind of almost lining up 4 across on the blue line. And obviously it's been pretty successful for most NHL teams. They all basically duplicate and replicate that exact same thing. In a series like this where you are kind of struggling, why not just change it up every once in a while and just send a guy? Like, I would think they would be completely shocked and be shell-shocked to have a guy be aggressive and go after him, because it doesn't ever happen.
No, and here's what happens then, Brandon, right? If that guy throws it back and there's either one of our players there to intercept it, or B, he can put pressure on that puck carrier right away. And then that is going to say to the rest of the 3 guys that are up there, or 4 guys, now what do we do, right? And then that may force that puck carrier to move the puck, and then your secondary defense, your backenders can step up and intercept that pass, or put pressure on that guy, or make him dump it in. It creates, it makes it so much more difficult.
Just throw a curveball at him every once in a while.
Yeah,
just throw a curveball every once in a while.
Yeah, you have to.
A little bit of a curveball that we talked about on KFAN Wild Weekly earlier this week and Beyond the Pond this morning before it was confirmed what the defensive pairings would be going into game number 3. I was a strong proponent of leaving Hughes and Faber together on the top pair. Now, the question would be, what are you going to do with your second pair? And it looks like Middleton has been demoted, but he's very good with Zach Bogosian. That's your third pair. And instead, the rookie Damon Hunt will get elevated into a top 4 role and play with the captain, Jared Spurgeon. Start with you, Brandon. Your thoughts on the decision of how the alignment is back there on the blue line today.
It's the decision I would have gone with.
Agreed.
And now, there's risk in that decision because we still haven't seen enough of Damon Hunt.
Yeah, but he looks like he can play that part.
He looks, but he's been in a different role, right? He's been going up against 3rd, 4th liners. Now you're going to be up against a 1st, 2nd line every once in a while. You're going to have to go up against top 6 guys. You're going to have to go up elevated minutes. Now his skating ability gives you reason to believe, hey, a team like the Colorado Avalanche that skates so well, that Damon Hunt's skating is going to be better. But he's still young. He's still relatively inexperienced. He hasn't been in that role. I don't know if he has any chemistry with Jared Spurgeon. I don't know how much those two have played together before.
Good point.
So there is risk involved. That being said, the way Jake Middleton has played in the first 2 games, and it might be the worst 2-game stretch I've ever seen him play.
Yeah.
He's been a pretty darn good acquisition by Bill Guerin for this team. But I don't know. Can you throw him out there again in a top 4 role and have it risk a 3rd clunker in a role? And I would move him down, and at least maybe he can go up against bottom 6 players that aren't as fast as a Nathan McKinnon, aren't as fast as some of their top guys, and put him in a better position to succeed. So I would make the move, but there is risk in doing so.
Patrick?
Well, I concur 100%. And I will say this about Middleton and Kevin, we talked about this today. I think he lost his confidence when Hughes was acquired, and he moved down. He moved down to that 5'6". No, he did play up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But to me, Brandon, with Middleton's game, I don't see him being as aggressive that, when he was earlier in the year. He looks tentative. He doesn't look like he trusts himself. And when Middleton is aggressive, he can play. And for whatever reason, it hasn't happened. Now, I love Damon Hunt. I think he's got a great future. I'm a little concerned, like Brandon is, about, okay, you're playing against third and fourth liners. Now you're playing against top six guys all the time. And
you can't turn the puck over against them.
Yeah.
As Jake Middleton learned.
Yes. And so it's a risk. I almost look at the two decisions that have been made with the goaltending change after game one. Twitter was all over it. And with this change tonight, with Hunt moving up with the pairing that he is, Twitter was all over that one too, about making that deal. Who are we listening? Is Twitter making the call on this one? Do we not listen to the outside noise? Conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
No, so I don't know.
I don't know. I think they just watched Jake Middleton play 2 games, and
I think that's it too. He was actually really good. I thought against Dallas. I thought he was a big factor. I thought even in his penalty killing, he was blocking shots. And something has gone wrong here in these 2 games. It's obvious. It's evident. The stats speak for itself. Even if the eye test wasn't telling you, the stats for that middle pair hasn't been working. So a change had to be made. That's the decision they use. Up front, I got this text in at 64686, and I've been seeing this a lot. Saw it earlier today as well, but this illustrates what this guy's talking about, the 952 area code. What are your thoughts on moving Michael McCarron to the second line in between Boldy and Johansson? Then you can drop Urov down to make up that all-Russian line once again. You don't like that?
No.
He says he wants the big guy in the middle clogging things up in front of the net.
Is not a top 6 forward. Okay. He's a bottom 6 forward, and I don't like it at all. But whatever.
I received this via Twitter actually. With Pat's favorite is good comments from X.
Yeah.
And I actually agreed with it. I'm going to go against Pat here, and I will agree that I don't think. I will agree that I don't think Michael McCarron's a top 6 center or top 6 forward. So I'm agreeing with you on that. And actually, I thought Urov was okay in game 2. I think since he's since he's come back, he's been solid. Right? He's not playing tentative. He's not making mistakes. He's not hurting you. Nope. I guess why I would make the move is actually more so to one, get a physical presence on that second line and a guy who can win faceoffs, which McCarron is now your best faceoff guy without. So at least you're when Boldy's on the ice, at least you're starting with the puck more often. With McCarron on the ice, he is one of the best. He is one of the best forecheckers on the team, which is what Eriksson Ek did well. Is he going to be able to make the plays Eriksson Ek make? No. But the other part of this though is if somehow Urov, Trenyan, and Tarasenko can rekindle some moments they've had in the past, and they've been streaky at times, but they've had stretches this year where that Russian line's been good. The potential to have a third line that could actually add some offense to you actually is intriguing to me as well. So it's also trying to gain more offense on your third line. While I think McCarron could help maybe open some things up physically for Boldy right now, because right now Boldy's playing with 2 guys that aren't going to get in on the forecheck and create anything physically, and he's going to have to do all the work. And through 2 games, he hasn't been up to doing that.
We talked about this the other night on Fanline, Patrick. The only guy I see causing problems in front of Wedgwood thus far has been Hartman. Now you get McCarron out there on that second line, and your only job is to stand there in front of him, create screens, take away his eyes, give the shooting lanes something to go for. That would be a reason I could see to have McCarron on that second line as well. I don't know what line changes they're going to make, if any. This might just be conjecture anyway, but I like the potential of him being out there for those very reasons.
We'll have to see what the lines are tonight.
All right.
Well, at practice, they weren't like that. So my guess is we're not going to see those lines. I think we're going to see Yurov on that Boldy line.
I think you're probably right. Brandon, I very much appreciate it. What do you think of the Bob Kurtz Radio Center? I take a lot of flack.
It's beautiful.
Barrero,
it's lovely.
Russo, they make fun of this. They say it's filthy and it's full of rat feces. None of that is true.
I would have named it the Pat Micheletti Radio Center, but other than that...
I was going to just say, since we have you in there, the Mileski.
Well, we should be hanging Micheletti jerseys all over this place, the mural. I mean, we should be loading it up with.
That's the broom closet around the corner.
How about Micheletti and Mileski?
Okay. Yeah, well,
I like it.
I do too. You guys build a studio and you can call it.
It sounds like you want me to come back to Beyond the Pond, is what I'm kind of gathering right now.
Don't tease.
I'm begging you. Please,
don't tease. Not that. Anything but that. Brandon, enjoy the game. It's great to see you.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
And we'll see you up in the Al Shaver press box.
Appreciate it.
There he is, Brandon Mileski. Patrick, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we continue upstairs to the Al Shaver press box, we'll check in with Joe O'Donnell and Tom Reid on an extended Minnesota Wild pregame right here on The Fan.
Hello.
I think this was a great spot for us to kind of get a breath, understand what's needed to be done to beat this team, and then, have it now on home ice is exciting. So, we're just excited for game 3 and understanding that, we get this one, we're back in the series here and just use the days off. The older guys always say rest is a weapon. So, hopefully we get to put that in our favor.
Older guys? Is he talking about Pat Micheletti and Tom Reid? Maybe. That's Marcus Foligno talking about the importance of Game 3 and also having a couple of days in between Games 2 and Games 3 to get the mind back, get some physical, rest up a little bit, and get ready for what is a critical game in this series. If the Wild want to climb back in, they got to get this one. Puck drops about 8:10 from Grand Casino Arena. If you want to join via the conversation, you can text us 64686. Also join us, KFAN.com/watch. You can put your comment right there on the screen. But let's go up to the Al Shaver press box, Patrick. We got Tom Reid and Joe O'Donnell standing by, ready to call a gem, I'm quite sure, as the series shifts back to St. Paul. Joe, Tom, I know the players needed a couple of days off in between games. How about you guys?
Well, we could use a few more days off, but if you're winning, we don't want any days off. We just want to keep on winning. But, and I refer to the Wild, they've gone through a really tough stretch, but they did not have a lot of free time once the season ended to find out what was going to happen, where they're going to go. And right now, I think Minnesota, the 3 days in between, Joe, has certainly helped them. And that rest we talk about is so important to reinvigorate yourself and get this team back on track again.
They've responded so well this year, guys, when they've had time off. Look towards the end of the regular season, that odd 4-day break there as they were about to hit April. Came out of it with a goal in mind to get on a roll and get their game back, and they did. They had a couple days off. They had a couple practice days. We talked about that a lot the last few weeks and just how valuable that is this time of year. So I like the way they handled it, especially making the guys skate again this morning to work on some more special team stuff, but giving them enough rest after Game 2 where hopefully they feel ready to go.
Hey, guys, I don't know what you think about the first 2 games, but to me, I thought those games were gettable. Obviously, Game 1 was something we haven't seen in quite some time, and Game 2, you give up a couple of bad goals, but man, I mean, they were right there. I mean, it's not like these games were, completely one-sided.
Well, the shots on goal are almost dead even through 2 games. I think it's a one-shot advantage for Minnesota through 2 games played. And I know John Hines was talking to the national media, the national broadcasters that are here to cover the game just about 45 minutes ago, Pat. And I didn't hear exactly what he had said as far as some of the numbers for inner slot shots and some of the offensive zone possession time, some of the analytics that, maybe they get access to that I didn't see coming into this game. But I think that the message is that they played much better in Game 2. There's probably still another level for the Wild to achieve in this series, so I think we all hope that's the case. But I think they thought they defended pretty well in Game 2, and to your point, you had a 5-4 lead in Game 1. You tied Game 2 6 seconds after Colorado took the lead, so they have not been outclassed in this series, to your point.
Hey, Tom, have they been physical enough when you talk about the Wild? They've got the Trenyon, they've got the McCarron, they've got the Folignos. Those guys were physical specimens in the first round against Dallas. It feels like in these first two games, Colorado's been taking it to the Wild a little bit. Have you seen that? And can the Wild get that going again?
Yeah, they have to. The only way they're going to win this contest is to be much more physical, and they have to end it also. When those periods end, you got to get some scrums in there, get some fights going in here, get some fight in the players. And I agree with Pat. Well, if you look at these two teams, each team during the course of the year won 2 games, right? All right, they won 2, they lost 2. They had overtime games, and that's part of the thing. But I thought they played them pretty well. And right now, Minnesota, they've been handicapped a little bit because of some injuries, obviously, in the first couple of games. But at the same time, you really have to step up here right now. And I think being more physical will certainly help this Minnesota squad.
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious, when you're missing a guy like Eck and you're missing a guy like Brodin. I mean, it changes everything. And so that being said, I mean, what do you think Minnesota, or what do they have to change in their game, without these two guys out to be effective?
Well, I think everybody has to pick up a little bit more. It isn't just one guy going to do it. They all have to share in the extra load that they're going to have out there. There's no question that Minnesota has got the capabilities. I think the fans are going to have a big part of this game here today. They're going to be boisterous. You look down West 7th Street, and it is busy out there. There's lots of partying going on right now, and I expect that to last quite a while. But I think Minnesota right now really has to rely on that first shift, get it going, get the players engaged physically here, and I think we'll have a pretty good, hopefully, outcome of this game.
Joe, besides the crowd being at your back, we know the first 2 games were in Colorado. Now the series shifts to St. Paul. Besides having the crowd in your corner, how do things change in favor of John Hines and the Minnesota Wild having home ice advantage for games 3 and 4?
So I asked John Hines that again about 45 minutes ago when we had a chance to chat with him. Like, any matchups that you're looking for now, you're at home, and he kind of, I don't want to say blew off that question, but was like, not really. He feels like every line for the Wild has scored this playoff series, so there's not like, we can't have this guy against this guy. So he didn't really seem to think there'd be much he'd be looking for. Definitely not a hard match, but he did say there'll be some face-off things they're looking at, right? Like, okay, got an offensive zone draw in the left circle. Let's make a change here because we have the ability to make the last change at home and get out the right centerman, or maybe throw Kaprizov out for an extra shift. I'm spitballing here, but he did say the face-offs would be one area where he thought he would try to get some matchups that maybe obviously couldn't get games 1 and 2 in Denver.
Yeah, and I think having the last change also is going to help Minnesota being on home ice here. They'll get that final change and have maybe a little bit of a matchup at certain points during the hockey game. But I think just being in this building, the crowd's going to be 19,000 plus, I would imagine, by the time they announce the attendance. But I know there's very few tickets available, but there seems like more than 20,000 people out in those streets. Which I'm really happy about.
I bet you are.
I was just going to say that you've got to be very happy tonight, Mr. Reid. Which is awesome. That's why we need them to win to keep this thing going, right? With the weather improving and all of that. Volstead gets back in the net tonight. I don't think it's going to, that him being not playing game 2 is going to affect him tonight. What are your guys' thoughts?
Well, I did a little bit of the Wild take the ice here.
Yeah.
Wish that was a goal horn for them scoring a goal. The game hasn't started yet.
Soon.
I looked to see, what was the last time a goalie gave up 8 or more goals in a Stanley Cup playoff game? And the last guy to do it was Sergei Bobrovsky in 2023. That was the elimination game when they lost to Vegas and their season ended. And there are a number of guys with all kinds of credentials, Hall of Fame credentials, that have given up 8 or more in a Stanley Cup playoff game going back a number of years. So Volstead's not alone. Not comparing him to any of those guys by any stretch, but I wanted to see how rare it was. And it's not really that rare. Sometimes a game gets away from you this time of year or any time of year, and I expect the kid to bounce back.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't think he played poorly in that game. I really don't. Now, again, call me crazy, but,
You're crazy.
You are crazy.
Other than that, how are you?
To me, Pat, it's the Kadri goal in the third period off the rush.
Thank you.
That's a mid-range shot. And I got the numbers here. I was shocked by this. But to your point, in Game 1, Volstead faced 15 high-danger shots. He stopped 13 of the 15. It was the mid-range shots. It was the Makar outside the circle. It was Taves outside the circle. It was Kadri off the rush. and where you've got the shooter. Just, I was surprised by that, and then seeing that he stopped 13 of 15 high danger. Again, the Wild played just a little bit better in Game 1. Maybe this series is split right now, but they're at where they're at. I think Volstead will respond tonight.
Hey, Tom, the other big news today is the fact that Damon Hunt's going to play an elevated role. What do you think about Damon Hunt? What have you thought about his body of work and now jumping onto that second pair with Jared Spurgeon? You think he's up for the task?
Yes, I really do, to be honest with you. There's no doubt in my mind that Kevin, he knows what he has to do up there. And he's elevated his game also because he's played pretty well for this hockey club. For a guy to sit on the sidelines as long as he did and come to work every day knowing full well you're not going to play, it's really difficult. It gets a little taxing on your personality, but I think right now that he's getting a chance to play, and I think that John's very happy with what he's seen from the youngster.
All right, I assume, take me outside real quick. You walked up the street, I'm sure, from Tom Reid's Hockey City Pub to Grand Casino Arena. I haven't gone outside to look. What was it like out there on West 7th? You say it was crazy at Bedlam. What was it like out there as that the city's alive, waiting for this puck to drop? Well,
a lot of the businesses are having a good time, including ours, and we always have room for one more. So just don't be afraid to stop in.
All right, you guys enjoy. We'll let you go watch the pregame skate, and we'll talk to you here in a little bit.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for leaving.
Thank you.
There you go. The one and only Tom Reid and Joe O'Donnell. They'll be calling all the play-by-play action there from the Al Shaver press box.
2 of the 3 think I'm crazy. Thank you, Joe O'Donnell, for backing me.
He's very polite, is what he is.
Yeah.
I'm expecting the Wild to fire a bullet tonight, Patrick. They're on home ice. And again, it isn't a must-win. You hate hearing that.
Yeah,
but if they don't win this game, it's going to be a real tough hill to climb. They win this, they're back in this series.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult. I do expect them to come out with some spirit tonight, Kevin, and they believe they can win this series. Of course they do, and they've got great leadership. They, I expect them to play better. Is it enough to get the win tonight? We're going to have to wait and see. But I expect them to play a hell of a game.
Have you been surprised? Because I know this was another talking point coming into this series. The talking point going into the Dallas series was about the Wild goaltending. For us, we felt that the Wild had the upper hand when it came to Volstead or Gustafson against either Wedgwood or Blackwood. Wedgwood's been pretty darn good. He's been more impressive than I expected.
He has, and maybe that's because we've let him a little bit.
That too.
Yeah, and so I like what Tom said about what. Let's get in some scrums in front of him. Let's their D are not the biggest defensemen in the league by any stretch of the imagination. And so I think if you put a little paint on them, get in their face a little bit, even if you have to start it, do it. And I think that'll. I don't know, get them off their game a little bit, because you got to get Colorado off their game a little bit, and you got to get Wedgwood off his game a little bit and talk to him, give him a shot, whatever the case may be. But that's what you have to do to win these games.
How important is the first goal tonight?
Well, I think it's critical because, you don't want to chase the game. You don't want to chase the Colorado Avalanche. And they can dictate how the game's played if they score that first goal. They're savvy. They have a lot of veterans on that team that have been here before, and so I think it's critical tonight, Kevin. And can you imagine this place if Minnesota gets the first goal tonight?
Remember what it was like Game 4. Wild finally got that victory. They took down the mighty Dallas Stars on home ice and tied that series at 2 games apiece. The volume inside this building, I thought literally, people talk about it all the time like it's a cliche, you're going to blow the roof off. When Boldy scored that overtime goal, I thought the walls were going to come crumbling down. It was as loud as I've ever heard it. I think it has that potential to be that right off the bat tonight. And the Wild, it would behoove them to feed into that and give them something to cheer about.
And I think it's really important, and Tom brought this up also, is get a good first shift. Get the bench going, get the crowd going. The next line will feed off of that, and then you build your momentum that way. That may be as important as getting that first goal tonight, Kevin.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see what tonight will bring. Wild and Avalanche in St. Paul for game number 3. Puck drops at about 8:10, so we're just over 30 minutes away from the start of this contest. I think I might have told you this morning. Did I tell you who's doing Let's Play Hockey?
You did not, and you were supposed to.
It is the one and only Viking Hall of Famer, John Randall.
I love him.
Let me tell you, of the 26 years of doing Let's Play Hockey before each and every home contest, one of the best ones I heard was this year in Justin Jefferson. That one was one of the best ones I have heard ever. I think John Randall...
You didn't like mine?
I don't remember it, so it didn't leave an impression, apparently.
Yeah,
Did you really do one?
10 years ago.
Mayosich was pretty good.
Mayosich was great, yeah. I mean, there have been some great ones, but Jefferson was great, and Johnny Randall, who is the Salt of the Earth gentleman, will have this place rocking tonight.
I think it's going to be phenomenal. We'll carry that entire thing live on the air before they drop the puck for game number 3. You got a prediction? I mean, we have to be predicting the Wild, right?
I can't make a prediction. My prediction is, and I said it this morning, I said it now, I think the Wild will come out ready to play, and their effort will show on the ice tonight.
You assume it's a one-goal hockey game one way or the other?
I think it'll be tight. I really do.
I do too.
And I really believe that, these guys will be ready to play. And, and the crowd is going to be right behind them. And so I want to say it's going to be a win. I hope it's a win. Let's get a win, Kevin.
I'll do my part. Patrick, it's been great spending basically the entire day with you. Enjoy the night.
Yes.
Put your feet up and don't forget #MuteTV.
Got it. Thanks, Kevin.
There he is, the great Pat Micheletti. We were together on Beyond the Pond earlier today. Now an extended pregame taking you up to the drop of the puck. Again, we're getting ready for an 8:10 puck drop, preceded by John Randall and Let's Play Hockey. But between now and then, we're going to hear from Ryan Hartman. We'll hear from John Hines. We'll hear from Tom Reid and Joe O'Donnell. It's all coming your way. Great job by Max Fuller back in the KFAN studios. Special thanks to Brandon Mileski for stopping by, Joe, Tom, and even Alexis Huss. She didn't do anything, but it's just nice to have her around because she's a good person and a great personality. We got Wild Hockey coming your way here very shortly, so don't go anywhere. Quick break, and then the pregame continues next on KFAN. The best place to go for all your Minnesota Wild audio needs is the official Minnesota Wild podcast presented by Acrisure. Everything Minnesota Wild related, including highlights, press conferences, players, coaches, general managers, and more. It's available on the official Minnesota Wild podcast presented by Acrisure. It's all just a click away at wild.com/podcast.